All right. Welcome, everybody. Today, I'm gonna make a video showing how can we build artifacts for the leaps that are Lava compliant. And Lava stands for Leaps Artifact Viewer App, and it's fantastic. It allows you to look at the data in a new way. Traditionally, the way to look at data or reporting within the leaps is within HTML files. And that was fine for many years until we started dealing with really large data sources. And now HTML is inadequate for that. Imagine you have a data source that produces uh, 1 gigabyte of output, right? 1 gig of output, 1 gigabyte of output. Well, your browser won't be able to render it. So what can we do? So that's where Lava comes in to help. I want to start first of all thanking Johan, James, Kevin Pagano, Heather, John. There's a whole bunch of a list of folks that work on this, and the way we operate is community based, and these tools, both the Leaps and Lava, wouldn't exist without community input. So I want to thank them and thank you also for watching, and hopefully be motivated to create artifacts for community use right now. All that is good. We're gonna make an artifact that's gonna work with Lava, big data sources. We can deal with them. How do we do it? So let me share my screen here, so we can get into it right away. Let me add here. Oh, perfect. There we go. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna show you is the data piece, right? That's important. It's important because before you do anything, you need to understand how is your data organized. You cannot extract meaningful information from a data source if you don't understand what the data source is, right? So for our example here, I'm gonna use a make-believe chatting application called DF Chats. And let's imagine I send a search warrant / subpoena for content, and they gave me the results, right? Lawfully obtained, it's all good. And they gave me this directory called DF Chats. And when I go in it, I will find, as you can see here, that it has a directory called media. And within it, it has lava.gif, picture1png, media. So that's kind of expected, right? Very good. And then user chats _1.txt, this text file here. Let's open and see what we have here. And when we open this, you can see here in the center, you'll see this brackets indicates it's a list. And this list, the first item on this list, it's a dictionary based on the brackets there. Interesting. And it has message ID, timestamp, a timestamp in Unix epoch time. So that's important to know. From and to, the media attached to this message, and the message. The leaps are amazing. Interesting message there. And then the second item, same fields, different values, of course. And then the message, and using Lava to view data even better, right? So if you don't know what a list or a dictionary is, that's no problem. I have a series of videos here in my let me look for it in the channel. Obviously, you're watching this on YouTube, so the same channel that you're in. But just to recap where it is within the channel, you're gonna go to playlists, and you're gonna scroll down to the Defer Python study group, view full playlist. And if you follow along these videos, you will be able to create artifacts for the leaps, and you'll learn Python and get benefit for jitter forensics. So I really recommend you check that out. And if you're beginning on your journey on how to make these artifacts, okay? Now, if you're a little bit more experienced, you understand already that, okay, so we have two chats here from a conversation. There could be more if we have more entries. I need to deal with them. So in order to deal with them, this type of formatting is nothing more than JSON. JavaScript object notation. So I need to deal with JSON. And how do I gonna do that? Well, these two are easy to read. They're only two, but imagine you had 10,000, 15,000, or an order with more detail and more data, more things. Well, then we need to do parsing with a tool to make it easier to understand. So we're gonna now make an artifact for the leaps to be able to look at these things in a nice report, take into account the media, those pictures, kind of matching the picture to the chats within the conversation, and also Lava compliant, so we can use the new viewing format, which is way better than what we had before. I'm gonna show you now the solution to that, and this is the script. Before we go into the script, I wanna review for everybody here, if you're not familiar, how are the leaps organized. If you download the code from the repository. You have, let's use iLeap for this example, but this applies to any of the leaps. These artifact scripts are gonna be within iLeap in the scripts directory, and then the artifacts directory. As you can see here, you'll have all these Python files are scripts for specific artifacts within the source data, okay? For example, you have here one for the Be Real chats. You have here for app snapshots, the biome stuff, burner, chats, Bumble, call history, and the like. So if you make an artifact, as I'm gonna show you now, that Python script make your artifact, and if it follows the processes I'm gonna show you, you can drop it here in the artifacts directory in the leaps, and it will be shown to you at execution time, and you will take advantage of that code that you made within the framework, right? You might ask yourself, well, why do I need the framework? Well, the framework is really useful because it allows you to concentrate on how to extract value from the data. And you don't have to worry about reporting. You don't have to worry how I'm gonna go find the data source or automate finding the data within my source. You don't have to do that. The tooling does it for you. We'll find the files for you, make it available for you. You'll manipulate them, and by manipulate, I mean read them, take value out of them. Never manipulate in a changing format, of course, or transformation, but more of a interpretation or understanding of it, and then a report to show that, right? Be it because you made some work on it. All right, so that's the benefit. The first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna open your text editor or your IDE, and you're gonna at the top generate this header. This header, you can look at some of the examples within some of these artifacts here. Just copy paste it and change it accordingly. The first thing you're gonna see is artifacts version 2. There is a detailed explanation of all the different fields and keys and values within the repository in the main README document. And you can check those out in great detail. So I'm not gonna go into great detail, I'm gonna go quickly. Here is dfchats is the name of that artifact internally. This is important because it will be the name of the entry point of the artifact. We'll show that in a second. Then you have name, I call it dfchats, a description, creation date, last update. I wanna scroll down to line 11 or show you line 11 paths. This is key. This is how the leaps will find the stuff for you. You will do a grep, a list of greps. Here's the first grep, oops, sorry. This is the first grep that I care about. I care about wildcard, so whatever directory is in, I'm looking for user chats underscore and whatever value is here, followed by .txt. This is consistent with my data source that I showed you here, where we have user chats underscore 1. I didn't put a 1 here straight up, and if I did, it would have worked. Fantastic. It will find me that document to analyze. But what if there's more? What if there's like user chats 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, etc. So be aware that try to make your artifacts in a way that's not so built to your example, right? Think of how can I make my artifact broader if need be, right? You don't want to overfit the artifact to the data source that you have, right? But we can discuss that later on. All right, and then I'm looking for media, I'm looking for PNGs, and looking for GIFs. I could have just done, might as well do this, put an asterisk in PNG and get everything in it. And that's fine. I needed this on purpose because I want to show you the list of grep patterns that the leaps will find for you. And it will find them, and then it will keep the path within your source or where they are. And then we'll make that available for processing shortly. I'll show you that in a second. Then you have output types. It's important because standard is all the output types, HTMLs, the Lava one, KMLs, and all the sort. Sometimes you might not want the standard. Like I mentioned previously, if you have a 1 gigabyte, I'm talking about speeds today in my mind, size what I care about. I have a 1 gigabyte file, it's not gonna show on the HTML, so why would I use standard to produce an HTML that I cannot render? It's a waste of time. Well, just use Lava, and it will make just the artifact for Lava. If you wanna know what are the different output types, go to the README in the repository, scroll down, and you will see those output types there. Artifact icon is the icon's gonna be shown on the reports, be it the HTML or the Lava type. And that responds to the feathericons.com set of icons. In this case, I'm using message circle, as you can see here in the center, which is consistent with me parsing chats, right? So it just makes sense. Right, so I got my header. This is necessary, this is important. Do it just like that. I'll make a video in the future for more advanced use of these headers. I'll give you a quick preview. You can put a comma here and put a second, third, and fourth header. that will address different artifacts or different data within our artifact if you're dealing from the same data source. So there's a lot of flexibility in how to create artifacts. But for today, we're doing the basic way of doing it, and it's this way. One header, and then now we're going to start dealing with all the libraries that I need to work with. In my example, my made-up chat system, I need JSON because, as I shown you already, user chats are in JSON format. I'm going to use OS and path, the path lib libraries, to manipulate those paths. I could have used one or the other, but in this case, I use both just to show how they both work. All right. Now, this is important here as well. You have the iLabs funcs script, and it's something that we made for you for the system to work properly. And there's many functionality within that modules, different modules. I want to highlight 3 that will be your mainstays, right? Artifact processor is going to be a decorator that will allow you to create and enable to create LAVA compliant artifacts. So keep that in mind. We'll use it in the next slide. You can see there. Log func will allow you, or log functionality will allow you to send to the screen of the leaps as it's processing whatever you want to show to the user. It will also log it in the logs of the platform for later review. All right. And then checking media allows you to render to in your report both videos, images, and audio, right? So really important functionalities there. There's way more. There's the iLab funcs has a whole bunch of different modules that you could use, but for now, these are the main ones. And for most use cases, you will use those. Now let's get into the proper code of the artifact. You're gonna start with calling your decorator, and if you don't know what decorator is, that's beyond the scope. You can look that up or go to the videos the playlist of Python videos. We discussed that as well. So you put your artifact here, you need that there, and then you're gonna define the function. This will be the entry point and for your script for the transformation work that you're gonna do. Notice that it's called df chats in this case, which has to be consistent with the name you give it up at the top. If you want your script to execute, it has to find a function that's called like the one up here, like df chat, so it can work, right? Then you have these values coming in. The one I want you to care about right now is files found. And I want you to focus on that because files found will contain all the paths that are responsive to the data that you need as defined in the patterns in line 11 up here, right? So if it found user chats underscore 1.txt per our source, that path is going to be an entry in files found. If it found the lava PNG, is going to be another path in the second entry within the list, and the GIF the third. And if there's more files, then fourth, fifth, sixth, and so forth. So you have all the paths that were responsive to this search within your source data. All right, so that's important. We're gonna use that also in a second. The next thing that I like to do is I like to define a list to aggregate the results of my work. Because at the end of the day, in this particular example, I want to show in a report, nice report format, I want to show when it happened, who was talking to who, what was said, and what media was shared. So I'm going to aggregate those results in a data list. So I define it as an empty list, and I leave it hanging there till I use it. Now, this is an interesting part because this is how you go using your data. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go and from all the items that were found by the leaps based on your search patterns here, your grep search pattern on their paths, they're going to be in here, and I'm going to go one by one. Go to the first entry in the list and do something with it. Go to the second, the first, and the fourth. That's so forth. In this case, I'm going to go and pull out that value, and I want to save here the file name. So I use the path lib or path library to do that. And again, if you don't know how this works, this is just a basic Python knowledge. You can Google that out of scope. But the important part is that I want to make sure that that file name ends with txt. Because as I'm going through my list, if one of them ends with txt, I want to do stuff with that txt because I know that's where my chats are, right? Imagine if it was not txt, it was some other format, Excel, maybe I want to do something else with the Excel. So it's different from the txt. So I would define that down the script, right? But in this case, I go find my txt, right? I got it. I have a source path, which means where that txt was. I want the full path to save it for my reporting. And I'm gonna open that file. I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna read it or load it as a JSON file. So it goes from text to a JSON data object, right? And again, this is kind of more, this is me explaining the solution. Let me explain this. At the point I gave you here, all your responsive files in files found, from all the way from the top all the way to down here, this is your magic. This is how you're gonna solve the problem, right? If you have a SQLite database, the way to solve the problem is not gonna look like this because you're not reading JSON. You will have to go into a SQLite database and operate with it, right? So just take into account, I'm showing this just because it's part of this exercise, but this is the part you do, that magic. How do you take the values that you need out of your data source, okay? So just keep that in mind. It could be other type of formats, right? It could be an Excel file that you look in. You could be looking at some SecB files. You could be looking at some protobuf or maybe I want to give one more example, or some plist, right? You have to use libraries according to what you're going to look into, which you will define here on the top, right? All right, so in this particular scenario, I'm going to open the file, read my JSON, and then from that JSON, I'm going to pull all the values that I care about, okay? I pull them all, and I'm going to, in my results list, save them. And you're going to save them just like this, data list.append. I want you to use this double parentheses. And see, notice I have the timestamp, from where to who, what the message said, the media item, and I'm going to explain this in detail in a second, and then the message ID. All these come from my source data, right? You have the message ID, the timestamp from to and from, the media, and the message. So that makes sense. Oops, I should have minimized that. Okay. So you're going to append those results. As you go through your chats, you're pulling those out. And you're going to append them to that list which has your results, the ones that you care about. In this scenario, I use all of them, but sometimes you might have a data source that has 20 different fields or keys, and you only care for 8. Then you can do that, right? It depends on that judgment you're going to do. Now, here, I have some logging that I sent to the screen, but I'm going to take it out because honestly, I don't need it here. It was just me before the video started just testing some stuff. So I'm going to just ignore that. Okay. Now, this is something that I will, again, do a video just for it. How to use the media function, the check-in media function. I'm going to show you how I do it. Some other folks might be more creative and use it in different ways. This is how I do it. So I'm going to go and files found. Remember, files found has all the stuff that was responsive to the grep search, which includes media, right? So I'm going to go check and see if any of those files there have any keys that are indicative of media. In my case, my key is going to be the media value. In this case, is going to be picture1.png and lava.gif, or whatever that value is. So I got to go and look at all the files that were aggregated and figure out, did I find the one that I'm this one or a media that's responsive to these names? If so, I want to show them the report. So I'm going to say, okay, let's go one by one. And I'm going to call this variable tentative media, right? I'm going to check. And actually, let me take also this logging function. I don't need it there. I'm going to go and look into them, right? All right, let's see the first file. If media, right, if the value, in this case, the first one is going to be picture1.png. Is picture1.png within this path within files found? If it's not, it's going to go to the next one and the next one, the next one. Let's say I got a hit. Yeah, I got a hit. Actually, yeah. What was it? Lava? No, picture1 is actually within this path. Okay, perfect. I found it. All right, so I want to make sure I got that path and convert it to a path that I can address or go to. I'm going to keep the file name to make sure I have that defined there. And then I'm going to use the function to get that media. I'm going to say, give me that media that I identified up here in the files found. Here's the file name for it. And please put it in my report. And you don't have to worry about it. It's going to put it on your report. What you do is then you take those results, media items, and make sure to put them down here in your aggregated list for results, and you're good to go. That's it. Obviously, I break here because I found it. And then, then we go to the next chat and we do the same process. We go to the next chat, get the media for that chat, if any. It looks for that indicator, the media indicator. For the second one, it's going to be lava.gif. The moment it finds the path that's responsive in files found, it's going to generate a path object. It's going to pull out the file name. You're going to give those two to the function, and the function will take care of everything. Just make sure that media item, as you can see here, is mentioned down here, but you put it down here within your data list, your results data list, aggregated there. All right, so that's that. Now we're about to report. Really easy. You need headers for your reports, right? You aggregated these fields. So the first field is I'm gonna call it timestamp, and notice that this first entry in this list has a little list of its own. There's timestamps and a data type called date time. That's pretty neat, because if you know that it's a Unix epoch timestamp, what you need to do is just identify it as a datetime object, and Lava will take care of it, which is fantastic, right? You have sender, which goes from, receiver, which is to who received it. You got message, I call it message, and then media item. Remember when I said that that's the function checking media will take care of it? Well, we're gonna make sure to Lava let know that, look, this is I'm gonna call it image. That's how I call the field, but it's gonna be a media object, so it renders properly in the report. And then you have message ID for those data headers there. And then to finish, I'm gonna return back the headers that I defined, the aggregated results, and the path of where those chats were located. And that source path, I found it up here, right in line 33. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. Again, this presupposes some Python knowledge, but at the end of the day, again, from this all the way down here, that's your magic. The data list here append is you aggregating your fields as you will, each block of data, you aggregate it, and then your headers have to match those fields that you have in your data list. And again, if it's a timestamp, then a timestamp, make sure it's converted to a datetime object by doing it as so. If you use the checking media, make sure that you call it whatever you want, but define it as a media object, so Lava can do its job, okay? Or the script can do their job. All right, so how does this look in reality? So I'm gonna take the script, I'm done. I'm gonna dump it here in my artifacts directory, and let's execute the leaps. All right, so we have the leaps here. We have plenty of artifacts. I'm gonna deselect them all. I'm gonna write df and df chats, so there it is, under the category chats, which is pretty convenient. And then category chats, name df chats. I'm gonna select it because that's the one that I want. In this case, I'm gonna select browse folder because my data is in a folder. It's not in a zip file or tar file, none of that. So I'm gonna go to my desktop, select the folder or directory, and my output, in this case, I'm gonna put the output here in the desktop, so it's easy for us to visualize. All right, and let's let it rip. Pretty quick, as you can see here. Before I go out at the screen, I just moved here the report folder, and you can see here that df chats artifact started, found 2 records, which makes sense, right? I show you it's 2 records there, processed it, and it's done. All right. Let's just close this. Well, before I close it, let me show you the report folder. The report folder, when it's in itself, since I use the standard way of reporting, there will be HTML reports for the data, and there will be Lava compatible results, which will be this Lava artifacts DB and Lava JSON. All right. I'm gonna open the report in HTML. I'm gonna open it in this case. You can hit the index.html and go at it, or hit open report and close. Let's do it. That's fine. All right. I don't have it. I don't have it on the screen. So let me just open it. Open in my other monitor, but I'm gonna open it in here in this other browser. And here we go. All right. Perfect. As you can see here, this is the HTML format report. Here's df chats, and I'm just gonna press it, and there's your chats. And notice how it went and added the proper media to the proper conversation in that chat with all the fields that I care about. Now, this is fine. This is not bad. This is great. But remember, if it's like a large report, it's cumbersome because it's HTML. So let me show you how Lava is gonna deal with it. So I'm gonna call Lava here. And again, this has not been released yet. This is an alpha of it. Let me delete this here, right? So this is how it's gonna look when it gets released. And we'll have a video soon in great detail explains all the different functions that we're putting in, functionalities. It's pretty neat. I'm just gonna show you the report and not give you a lot of details because this will change before we do release. So we're gonna open that project. I'm gonna go and look for that report. and open the JSON file that corresponds to a report. We'll have a video for details on that later. And I open it. There's some tabs there. Again, that'll be out of scope for today. Let's go to the chats. That's what I want to show you. All right, since I run this for the first time here in some time, I need to allow some permissions within my Mac, and that's fine. And look at how cool this is, right? This format allows for many things. And you can export things. Just be on the lookout. There'll be another video that I'm gonna release with those details. I just want to show you how cool this is. You can press here the media, and it enlarges the preview. You can press here this one. If it's a GIF or GIF, it kind of auto displays. If it's a video, it will play with your audio. If it's audio, you can hear it. So again, I'm really proud of the work the team is doing on this tool, right? And this will allow you to work with large data sets. It's really efficient. One little detail I'm going to show you is if you hover here on the timestamp, since it was recognized as a datetime object, you have all these functions here to understand your data. And within the settings, you can also change your offsets to represent this data in the proper time zones, okay? But that's a source for another video. All right. I hope this is helpful. It was a quick summary on how to create a LAVA compliant artifact. Go through the leaps and look for different examples. As of today, not all artifacts are LAVA compliant. We are trying to make sure they all are before release of LAVA itself. That's not a guarantee because you know how the level of our budget for this project is, which is, you know what, that number. I'm not even going to say it. You all know it. It's a work of love. So we'll try to do that. But you can go and find the ones that you care about and use them as an example to create some of these and try them out. If you haven't subscribe yet, please go. Actually, I'm gonna bring back the screen again. There we go. So let's go to if you go to leaps.org, please go there. Please subscribe, join the list, because the moment we release LAVA, we're gonna send out a big email blast to all the folks in our mailing list, and you'll be able to download it and start using it right away when we release soon, pretty soon. So please be part of our mailing list so we can send that out. All right, now for real, I appreciate your time and hope that this was useful for you. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to contact me or Heather through all our channels. I can be found at linkup.com/abrignoni. There's other ways of contacting me there. Thank you for your time and have a nice day. Let's make some artifacts. Peace.